And welcome back to the Off the Clock Show. You're joined with your host, Shawn Gervais from the OrbisX CRM, as well as Marty, Mr. Marshall Hill from the hyperClean Car Care Products, as well as Pints and Polishing Podcast. Did that in reverse today. Hoping to catch people up. See, not the same intro. I need something where we like fly in on like, I don't know, like a fucking skateboard or some shit. I'm not good with the graphic stuff. No, you're thinking just straight to the
Oh, I
chase.
thought you meant like I actually needed to be on a skateboard. I was like, nope.
Oh, no. That's how we hurt ourselves at our age.
Exactly. I tried that maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. My daughter wanted a skateboard and she wanted to start to learn to skateboard. It's like, cool. It's like, you try it. I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah. Like, nope. You know, it's funny. That's been one of those things I could never do as well. I don't know why.
I skated as a kid, but man, I got on that thing and before I gave it one little push and before I knew it, I was sitting on the ground. I was like,
like, what the fuck
hell just happened? Like, it happened so fast. I couldn't even, next thing I know, I was just down on the ground. I was like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, try it again. I'm like, nope.
Yeah, nope. Once is enough. Yeah, once is enough. Oh man, it does happen fast though. Me, I've been teaching my daughter how to not rollerblade, the one with the 4 wheels. Yeah, rollerblade, right?
Just
roller skate.
skating?
Roller skate. Jesus, yeah. I knew there was a difference between the two, but the roller skate. Thanks. And I was teaching her that. Man, it's amazing because it's one thing. Like as an adult, like I know how to skate on ice. I know how to skate on pavement and stuff. But when you're teaching someone else, I don't know. Like it's different, man. I tell you, she was going along. Everything was smooth. And good thing I was beside her because man, that happened fast. Like it literally blink of an eye and she was almost on the ground. But I caught her, obviously, got to save the day. But man, that I was surprised at how fast that pendulum swung, man.
So I mean, roller skating is not exactly extreme sports, but I mean, have you ever been into extreme thing? You ever gotten into any of that? Is that
I was in BMX for a long time. Yeah, when
BMX?
I was a kid. Yeah, we built half pipes, all kinds of stuff, and I did that for a long time. And then a buddy of mine, he was trying to do, I don't remember what the move was called, but basically went in the air, spins the handlebars around, and then go to land. And he did that, and he caught the handlebar right under his rib cage here. That wasn't even the worst of it. It hit there, but then when he fell on the ground, even though he only fell from the top landing, it was maybe 6 feet up. But when you fall on your back like that, and he's never been the same. And so when that happened, I was like, takes just one instant, you know what I mean? So ever since then, my jumps were like scared. Like you could tell I would go towards it and I wasn't the same ballsy teenager. Like, oh yeah, whatever, man. Caution to the wind. And it showed because the landings were never perfect. I never went as high. It wasn't as smooth because it was that fear preventing me from, so it was just time to hang up the hat.
Well, and so there's some people that be like, yeah, man, fear's holding you back.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like that is the interesting part. You're smarter than me. I didn't quit, right? Like I didn't stop.
Like, let's go.
I still tried to do stuff, right? Like even though I'd get hurt or even though I see like, and there's sometimes looking back being at 45, I go, would you have just been okay with, okay, please? You weren't going to go into the Olympics. So why the fuck are you trying to land this jump? Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, should I have really gotten onto, this terrain bike, when I'm just go to Colorado once a year?
Yeah.
Should I have really been trying to take jumps and go up half pipes and then, oh, here's a rail slide. Oh, I need to really try and land a rail slide. No.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to try and land a rail slide being from Oklahoma to go snowboarding once a year. Like
it's true. And that's the thing. Cause me, I don't like to quit. I don't like to stop things, but sometimes there's certain activities you might engage in that you need to know when, this could be life altering.
A lot of my back problems were derivative of a running injury. I was training for a half marathon and I didn't stop when I felt that little pinch. And then as it started to really, pulsate, I went, no, man, you don't stop. You keep going, right? Like you push.
You push through it. Yep.
And it turns out I ripped a bunch of shit and
exactly
no reason for me to have ever continued. Like
100%.
What the hell was I like? So, but
funny story.
When you're that driven, right? Like if that's the only part,
push.
That's a problem with drive. If somebody's got drive,
like a lot of times it's a positive, it's a benefit. Other times
it's a negative.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to be able to discern when, and that happened to me too. Cause when I was boxing, we didn't do a lot of weight training. It was more, cardio type stuff, stamina building, things like that. Some strength stuff, but really just your body weight. You didn't need much more than that. But then I was getting into the gym after that when we had kids, and I said, okay, like I'm not going to box anymore. And then I can't help my kid with their math homework or something like that because anything could happen. Like I used to box with this guy. He went to provincials. By the end of it, man, he had a stutter like you wouldn't believe. Like it just, and it was just minor brain injury. Like that's what it was. You get hit in the head enough, that's what happens. But so I got into weight stuff, and the funny story is, so I'm at the gym. One of my favorite exercises. I don't know what it's called, but it's a pec press. You push out like this. There's big weights on the side of you, and you push out.
A bench press?
No, not a bench press because you're in a seated position. Yeah. So yeah, thanks. I don't know what it's called, but it's you're laying on your back and you push up this bar and it's you're on a bench. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, back to basics, bro.
Yeah, I think that's the upper incline, maybe.
No, exactly. Like you're in almost like a chair.
Military press.
It might be like a military press type thing. Yeah, something kind of like that because it works the upper pec, and you're not really on a bench. It's almost like a chair that you're sitting in. Yeah, so I'm pushing this thing. On my final set, I get a little bit extended, and I just felt this little pinch in my lower back. I paused and I said, "That's weird." Literally, kind of shook a little bit to try and get the pain to go away, and then I completed the rep. No joke. By the time my arms ended up extended, I collapsed in the chair. It's like my back muscles just gave out. Collapsed in the chair, and the most embarrassing thing, I'm there slumped over now.
It was only 45 pounds.
Yeah, it was. It actually is worse than that. That would have been the best thing if that was all it was. I'm slumped over now on the ground, and this big, massive dude, "You okay, buddy?" Drops his massive weight that he's lifting, runs over, picks me up, and lifts me up. I never went back to this gym, but he lifts me up, and he starts telling everyone, he's like, "Don't worry, I got it. So everyone's now looking, and here I'm like daintily being held in this guy's arms.
It was only 45 pounds, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I should have stopped at 1,000 reps. Yeah. But yeah, so this guy carries me out for 2 years though. I had back spasms, uncontrollable. I would be just, talking, and then I'd stop talking because I wasn't breathing. I'd get these back spasms, couldn't move. It was bad, man. I had to go through rehabilitation, everything.
Later, when you woke up, were you seeing images of him? Was that?
We've been together for 5 years. It's lovely. And yeah, thanks, Brody. But yeah, it's a nightmare. But well, the worst part too is being driven. It's the whole point of my story is not knowing when to stop. I pushed through that, but then on top of it, had this injury. But we went on our second honeymoon. We did 2 weddings, 2 honeymoons. Long story. But our second honeymoon, we went to San Andreas. Oh, sorry, that was the first one. We went to.
The second included him.
Yeah, exactly. That's why 2 weddings, 2 honeymoons. We're a throuple now. That's it. I get my wife Wednesdays and Thursdays, but
that's why there's a big bouquet of tips, huh?
Jesus, spread the love. Oh my God, Jesus. Oh man, but yeah, so being driven, we went down to Samana and they had this massive waterfall, and I really wanted to see it, tallest waterfall that's there. So we had to go by horseback though, up this rocky mountain, 2.5 hours up this hill, and the whole time my back was just getting more disaligned every single pebble, And so anyway, it ended up being about 2.5 years. I tried everything. Rehabilitation, physio. I did electric shock therapy with the chiropractors, all kinds of stuff. Nothing really worked. And then a buddy of mine, ex-military, he told me, he said, "Listen, when we do our long excursions, always you end up, because you're carrying packs and stuff, you end up with certain pains in your back, and that's what it sounds like." And he told me, he said, "Just lean against the wall with one arm on the wall and push forward and just hold that for about 2 minutes, and then do the other side." No joke, doing that for 3 days, and I was cured. No joke. It's crazy. Yeah. Never came back, never nothing. And that was after me doing all the other shit and spent thousands of dollars on all this rehab stuff. Nothing worked. So it must have just been something very specific pinched. But
what kind of military you guys got up there in Canada?
The best kind.
He's like one arm on the wall and then lean forward and it cures all. Like,
That's it.
what
Cures
the
all,
hell's
man.
going on up there,
That,
man?
a shot of maple syrup, you're good to go,
Yeah.
man. Fixes everything, man.
Mm.
Bad breakup, lean on the wall, maple syrup shot, you're good to go, man.
One hand forward. There you go.
One hand forward, exactly.
Or back or whatever. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
confused.
yeah, exactly. See,
Sounds
exactly.
so simple, yet it's confusing. I'm not sure. Lean on
Yeah,
the
so
wall.
our
One
military
arm
is,
on the wall, lean forward. Okay.
yeah, just like as if you're walking through a door, but before you go through the door, put your arm on the door frame and then just keep walking.
Oh, the door frame. Now
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
I literally thought you meant lean back on the wall,
yeah.
put your arm on a wall, and then lean your head forward. And I was like,
Oh, no, that's not
what
our
the
military.
hell is
That's
that
our
gonna do?
that's our special forces. That's our
Yeah, like what kind of military are you guys running up there? You're
yeah,
saying earlier about war vets, and I'm like, what war vets? What war's been going
what
on up
wars
in Canada with the
Yeah.
moose or what? Like,
That's a big problem, actually.
no, actually, I know. That's why I said
Yeah, exactly. Those things are fucking huge too, man.
crazy too, aren't they?
Oh yeah, big time.
Do you have a
and
moose above your mantle, like a moose head?
they-
You don't? I mean,
No.
every house here has like deer above it. Like,
Oh
if you're
yeah.
through the Midwest or through it, like I'm not a hunter. Like I shot a bird
Yeah.
once and I felt bad. Like I get it. Like that's just me. I'm just not a hunter. Like
Yeah.
I love watching animals. Actually, I love watching safaris. I love
Oh,
what, I
yeah.
went on a safari. Like I love animals killing animals. Like
Mhm.
I really enjoy watching that. I just,
It's actually fascinating.
it
You know?
very is. I've
Yeah.
never really been a hunter. Like, fuck, I've talked about it before publicly. Like, and it creates a lot of enemies here in the Midwest. Like, what
Yeah.
most people do isn't hunting, it's
Mm.
baiting, it's trapping, it's, let me
Yeah.
put some salt out here for the deer so I can just shoot it when it goes to eat salt. Like,
Yeah, that's not hunting.
Yeah.
That's not yeah. That's not hunting at all. Yeah. See, for me, hunting involves, tracking an animal.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then yeah, there's some skills involved in that side of things. Absolutely. Like I've done both. I've done hunting and
They're
trapping.
like, but we're up in a tree stand. We've been there for 6 hours. Like, that's why we
Mhm.
put the salt out there. Come on, man.
Now you sound like detailers trying to get customers. I put a sign outside my shop. I say, why is no one coming in? Oh, you need to do a little more than that? You got to be a hunter. Absolutely. Sorry.
Oh, the worst are the bears, right? Like, I mean,
Bears
I
about
know it's a problem up there, and I know in some places they're like, bears are a problem. I get it, but to watch them just put trash out there, and then when the
Yeah.
bear goes to eat the trash, they shoot the bear. Like,
Yeah,
come on.
I know. And then now they do I can't remember what they call it. They have a term for it. It's like a more humanized way or something. I don't know. They tranquilize them and then they go drop them off in some random forest. But what
No,
they
no, I
don't
mean
realize-
hunters do this.
Oh, hunters, you mean?
You're
Oh,
talking
okay.
about like
Oh
actual,
man, that's messed up.
your
Yeah,
war veterans. You're talking
yeah,
about
yeah,
your
yeah,
war
exactly.
veterans, how they actually do it the right way. I'm
Oh,
talking about, hunters who they'll
they
just
put out trash, wait for the
they
bear to
put
come.
bait and just put trash, and
Oh,
the
man.
bear goes up to it and then they shoot it. It's like, come on, that's not hunting.
Damn, yeah, no, that's crazy. And for me too, like a bear is a sacred animal for us. So like we have a word for it, makwa. It's it means bear, and it's like a sacred animal for us. So we can't hunt a bear. I remember one time my uncle, he shot a bear. My grandfather didn't talk to him for like 3 months. It was crazy. He was so mad, and he killed it because at the time he was just young, new to hunting, whatever, and he wanted just a paw. He always wanted to have like a bear paw, And my grandfather was so mad. 3 months, didn't talk to him at all. Yeah, but it's that's not my form of hunting. Like if I'm gonna hunt, for me, because I always saw hunting as kind of like a sport. It's not there's sustenance and then there's sport as well. If I was gonna do it for sport, sitting up high in a tree and waiting for something to walk by, like I don't know.
Yeah. Now, is it that much different than fishing though? Because I was about to say, like I love to fish, but damn, it's pretty much the same thing. You're just throwing
Throwing stuff out there,
you're throwing stuff out there, a worm on a hook with a bobber, because that's my style of fishing. Let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
I think you're just basically waiting for me. Like,
That's
my
true.
thing
Unless
is
you like
it's a
those
fish.
guys
Like,
that do
come
the
on, it's a
spear
fish.
fishing.
Like, those things are stupid. It's okay. You can do it.
Yeah,
right?
in that case, it's okay.
Come on. Come on.
True, yeah. But I'd also say that's where it might be a little different because we're not aquatic animals. You know what I mean? Like we can
Bingo.
swim.
Thank you. I'll take it.
Okay, there we go. See?
Now the crazy
Exactly.
one that I would love, I wish I could do, Brett. Some people know Brett. He's the guy that does a lot of airplanes and stuff. We've hung out a little bit at Mobile Tech and some events. He's been on the podcast, early on.
Nice.
Brett's one of those dive fisher. What is it? Spear fishermen. So go down and shoot them. Now
Hold your breath.
that's hunting fishing. Like,
Yeah.
I just, with my ears, I can't do it. I had a lot of problems with my ears growing up.
Yeah. But the pressure builds up
tubes
fast too.
That's why I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
It takes me a long time to decompress as I go down.
Yeah.
Everybody's already at the ship, or the 50 feet down at the coral, and I'm still at 20 feet going, okay, hold on, I'm trying to come home. So there's no way I could do what he does, but I think that would be a lot of cool.
Oh, 100%. Man, one year though, I was because I used to dive down when we lived in the Caribbean. I used to dive down and I would collect I don't know conch shells, I guess they're called. We had a different name for them, but conch shells, the ones you hear the ocean in. I used to dive down and we lined our whole patio with them, and I had maybe like 200 of these things that I collected. But I used to dive down for them, and I tell you, by the time when I say dive down, I mean no mask, no tank, no nothing, just diving down, free swimming, And when you get down, and it's not very far, you get down a certain depth, man, it feels like the whole world is collapsing on your face, and you can literally feel the pressure. So I would go down, and oh my God, man, one year I had the scare of a lifetime though. And I realized that's where it's like, you think you're, like, what is it? The king of the jungle. Like you think you're, top predator. You get down there, man, there's some shit down there just like make your hair stand up. And I think it was Jacques Cousteau. He said, like, you're the top of the food chain until you step in the ocean or something like that. He had some saying, and it's true, man. But I went down, picked up this beautiful shell, and there was this snake looking thing. At first I didn't know what it was, and I thought it might have just been, those like little plants that grow out of the ground. They're all different colors. It was an eel, exactly. Yeah. But it looked like this very venomous snake. And I panicked, man. I started swimming as fast as I could because it was lunging towards me. Man, this thing swam fast, but it was just trying to startle me. It didn't actually want to come near me because it wasn't the venomous snake. So there's a spotted eel that looks identical to this venomous snake on purpose. It's like a protection thing. But holy crap, man, I came running out of the water. My wife's sitting there on the beach. She's yelling to me like, well, what's going on? I didn't even acknowledge her. I just kept running. I was like Forrest Gump, man. I just went right past her. I didn't know maybe this thing has legs and it's crawling. I had no clue. I just kept running, man. But I'm here today.
Do you ever watch the videos of people that are out on the kayak out in like the sea and like
a shark or a dolphin or something crazy comes? Yeah.
I saw one the other day. Yeah, a little shark just was swimming up faster real quick, and then it like threw its, and once it grabs on, it knows it doesn't want it, and it'll go away. But
and you're just in the middle of the ocean.
Why the hell do people get in these kayaks and go miles out into the ocean? Like,
it's true.
What is wrong with y'all?
Yeah. Like, although I've done it, but
oh, I won't do that. No way. I can't now.
In all fairness, though, it's because we went with a guide who was a family friend, and we knew where the sharks tend to hang out. So it wasn't too bad.
But I do. Number one on my bucket list is to actually get in a cage and then go dive with the great white sharks. I do want to go where I'm protected and then get to see them. Like, that definitely is number one on the bucket list.
That would be wild. It's kind of like facing like a top predator, facing death,
face to face. Just want to see it.
Yeah. Like that's wild, man. I gotta be honest. Like and that to me is more exciting than like climbing a mountain or something. Climbing a mountain, I get it, big achievement, but it's just I'd rather stare a predator in the face like that, man. That's wild, man. That's something else, and in their element too. Like it's, I don't know, man. You throw some chum down there, just make it a party. Of course. Where they go all crazy and you're like, of course, let's go.
Yeah, it's got to.
Yeah. I don't know. That stuff scares me. But you know what though? So that's big predator. So I was watching this thing because one of the guys that follows the podcast, he said our episode last week where I brought up the dragonflies. He's like, we need more Animal Planet stuff, man. That was awesome. So I was like, all right, cool. And there's a lot of references with animals and business,
Animal Planet,
right? Oh yeah, me too. Like animals are so fascinating. And the thing I love about it is just the raw carnage. Like the fact that like for them, everything is literally life or death. Like we live such cushy lives, man. We have Netflix, the internet, like the littlest things bother us. Like my internet was down for an hour today. You know what I mean? Like people are so vexed, but like animals, man, can you imagine like everywhere you turn, something wants to eat you? Like it's just nuts, man.
The one of the horrible ones I saw the other day was because like I said, I watch a lot of safari stuff, lions
Yeah.
and stuff like that. This cow, bull, whatever those are, those beasts, wildebeest they call them, or whatever, like,
Yeah.
or water buffaloes. I think it was a water
Oh yeah,
buffalo.
water buffalo. Yeah.
Gave birth, and as
Yeah.
soon as it falls out, you see the lions just kind of appear. And so then this buffalo's trying to like keep the lions off of the calf.
Jesus.
But then it's an idiot and it stays around too long. And then the big lion comes, fucking gives birth, and then dies 2 minutes later. And it's like, wow, brutal.
Like that's as real as it gets, man.
Like, gave birth, my calf dies, and I die. Oof.
Yeah.
Ouch.
It's crazy, man. And you got to think the mentality of the other animal. Like you're going in and you're like wiping out a whole generation.
So the interesting part too is when some of those the bulls or the buffaloes will return and start fighting off the other lions.
Yeah.
But then they'll sit around, right? And this gets even crazier. There's still a lion like latched onto one of the throats or trying to do something. And the other ones are just sitting there like, do we do something? What do we do? How do we do this? And then it'll make something, and it's crazy. And then one time I watched them when they're doing that, and one time they get off and then they hop back on, then the buffalo just leave and then let that other one die. And it's like, shit.
Damn.
Okay.
At some point you got to call it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're like,
guess so.
What we can do.
All right, herd, time to move on. We lost Marge.
We lost Marge. She's no longer with us. And then I've seen those ones too where other animals, different species, come in and like defend another, like it could be a giraffe getting attacked, an elephant will come and save the day.
Yeah, elephants are big on that, aren't they?
Yeah, they really are, man. It's wild, man. Like literally in all sense of the word, but it's wild seeing these animals, the way they interact and stuff. They have their own, I don't know, ways of communicating, their own social structures, everything. It's nuts, man. But yeah, I don't know. That stuff is fascinating to me. But I was watching this stuff on red ants today. Not red ants, fire ants. That's what it was. Holy crap, man. I was it's nuts, man. Fire ants, because they came so much later than other creatures. A lot of creatures have been around for a long time, alligators, all kinds of stuff. But these things came later, but then they started just taking over, man. Like from one colony, they were spreading something like 540 miles, which may not sound like a lot, but when your whole life is like minuscule, 500 plus miles, man, that's crazy to be setting up communities all from one colony. And we're talking in like just a couple of years. We're not talking like, oh yeah, over 100 million years or something. We're talking like within a decade, they spread that far, kind of thing. It's crazy. But they have no known like predators per se, aside from like someone stepping on them. But Jesus, man, they found these flies because they were like, how do we control this? So they found these flies, fly behind them, and they inject a baby into the back of their neck. And then the baby grows and releases this enzyme. It's basically they inject like larvae. It grows, releases an enzyme that detaches the head. And then the larvae eats the muscle, the brain, whatever's left in the head, grows to 100 times its size, and then turns into a fly and repeats the process. But it's kind of like a Trojan horse because it does this. The ant is just like, oh, that didn't tickle, and then it keeps going about its day, walks into the colony, but it's got this ticking time bomb inside its head that's going to give birth to something that's going to attack something else. Man, it was wild, man. It was nuts. But I learned some cool stuff about fire ants, obviously. But one of the cool things I learned, which I think applies in business, is
this going to be a tip?
This is going to lead into a tip. Absolutely.
Hey.
This is gonna be the first one in a bouquet. Here we go. So they have an exceptional way of cooperating with each other and working well with each other. And that's where you and I were so big on community, community. Hey. Community. Because it's so important to work well with those around you. And that includes, working with, vendors like yourself, or working with, another detailer down the road, stuff like that. as I mentioned to you when I was talking to you before, is that there's a guy not far from us. Well, there's several, but they're using OrbisX as well. I helped them out with their business because there's lots of stuff to go around. And reality is that we're stronger together, and we actually talk to each other frequently to share things that, like that we might have discovered, maybe a new product or a new process, different equipment, things like that, because we're stronger together. And when I was watching these fire ants, it was so apparent because they get an annual flood. They're native to South America. They get this annual flood that just wipes out so many other insects. And they're the only insects that they've found that do this, where they cling together and they create this kind of like a floating pad, like a raft, and they can float on top of the water for months. And it's because they just cling together so tightly, and they help each other out that way, that they create this like subsurface on top of the surface that doesn't allow them to sink. They don't drown, and they just cling together tightly, and they keep moving position if they need to, so that, if one's underwater, now it can get air, stuff like that. But they do this thing to work together like that. And I thought that was so important, because a lot of people in the industry, as we've seen, detailers, they're scared of other detailers, or not sure how they could work with other detailers. But it all just starts with a conversation, because no joke, we are definitely stronger together, 100%. And that means it's got to be good people. And that's the other part of this, is that when these ants are clinging together, they're well aware, they've found, of their strength, because their strength, each one is strong enough to actually rip the limbs off another ant or detach its body in half. And so when they're holding each other, they have to know the size of the entire colony and how much strength to apply, so that they have enough strength to hold on, get the job done, but not too much that they rip the other guy apart. And so they're well aware of the community and who they should hold on to and how much strength to use. Community, again, you're gonna get me licked off this now. But you're like, that's the goal. But that's when the good tips come out. So it was oh no. But basically, I thought there was a cool lesson we can learn from the animal kingdom. And it was, I was requested to find more animal related stuff. So that was something I found today that was quite interesting. But I do have another tip as well, and this is also based on user feedback. So someone, this will be one of the last ones, I promise, for today. But so someone asked about their search engine results, and they were wondering why they're getting good search positions for the search terms that they've chosen, but they still weren't getting enough conversions from customers. And I would argue that it's because their customers aren't searching for industry terms. And so when they're working with their web guy or their marketer or whomever, and they tell them, I want to rank high for ceramic coating, you're instantly making an assumption that your customer knows what ceramic coating is. You're instantly making an assumption that they know to type in ceramic coating, when oftentimes people will type in other keywords or phrases to find a business that offers ceramic coating, but they don't know what they're asking for. And so competing for ceramic coating as keywords is definitely something you should do, because you want to rank there as well. But I'm going to make a suggestion as well, and I'm going to use an example to highlight this scenario. Let's say you're in Japan and you want to find a good place to eat some sushi. If you type in sushi restaurants, Google will return some results, but they're only going to return results from companies that have used the word sushi on their pages. Whereas a lot of the businesses are going to use the Japanese, text and letters to say sushi. And so if you go into Google Translate and you type in sushi, and then you copy the characters and you go to Google and you type that in Google instead, you're going to get a whole series of different results, because not every business would have put the English word sushi on their pages. Not every business would have used that same terminology. And so you're going to get completely different results showing. In Google, there's this thing called the long tail. And I'm going to encourage a lot of people to do some research on the long tail and to chase after the long tail as well. So the long tail, how it works is there's your key, performance words that people are going to type in your industry: ceramic coating, detailing, things like that. There's a lot of people that are going to type in longer sentences. And statistics from Google are that 1 in 5 that they see, search terms that they see, they've never seen before, which is a crazy statistic if you think about it. But 1 in 5, that's their results that they've released. And the reason is because the way people type things in. So people will type something like, I have a stain in my car, I want to get it removed, I need someone to help me, please. That's what they type in, and Google has to somehow take that, decipher it, and return some good results that are meaningful. And so you might on your website say, car detailer, stain removal, all these kinds of things, but you've only mentioned the word stain once. So Google is going to try and associate to find relevant results based on that. So if you instead write some blog articles, and you can get ChatGPT to do this for you, so it's really easy to do nowadays, guys. There's no excuses. You could write an article on the best ways to get stains out, the effectiveness of getting stains out, why getting stains out is important, resale value of a car when you remove the stains, all these kinds of things. Add a bunch of content to your website, and you're going to target those long tail sentences. And so it's not going to be necessarily industry buzzwords, ceramic coating. It might be more car protection. It might be more paint protection. It might be a lot of those you probably already have, but it could even be something as simple as protect my car from UV rays, protect my car from, who knows what people are searching for. But there's all these different terms that are what's called the long tail. And that's what you want to target in your search results. And nowadays, you don't need anyone professional to do this kind of stuff for you, because as long as you have a website and access to a blog, you can go to ChatGPT, write some blog articles. Well, ask it to write you blog articles, and then you can post them around. So for those who don't know,
is ChatGPT a website?
Good question. So there's apps for it. There's websites as well. So it is a website. If you go to openai.com, you'll be able to, you have to create an account, and then you can log into ChatGPT, which is basically an interface where you can type in a question. ChatGPT will give you an answer. And it's phenomenal, the things that it can answer. You could type something in like, write me a blog for a car detailing company about stain removal and the importance of it. And it'll spit out an article. You can copy and paste that. You can tweak it, put in your own words if you want, add some brand names, whatever you want to do. And then you can copy paste it on your website. You'll be done in 3 minutes. Absolutely. Yeah, man. Yeah. Long tail SEO, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See,
most people, that's why I wanted you to try and explain, like,
they're smart, because
they would get lost, right? Like, okay, that sounds great, right? But then,
and they're like, what do I do?
And then they won't actually take the time to go look up what to do. So,
that's very true.
OpenAI.com.
Yeah, exactly. And then
OpenAI.com, go fill out an account, and away you go.
Click on ChatGPT, and then type in your question. Absolutely.
Yeah. And everybody should know where their blog section is. If not, go contact your
web guy
whoever
or gal.
Designed your website. Some people, usually if they're going to be, what was that term everybody used? Not SEO qualified, but where they affirm and confirm that we
like
built this site
or something,
that you're going to be okay on SEO, right? Like if they've done that much work, which most people have, you should have a blog section somewhere. So you're going to have to then go into your admin side, and because there's a lot of detailers, Shawn, that they're hands off on all this. They have no idea what you're talking about.
And a lot of it, though, they should be. And these are instructions that you could give to your web guy, or
they should be, or they shouldn't be, because at this point, I'm going to say they shouldn't be. This is where they actually need to put their boots on, right? This is actually where they do need to do some work. Don't hand it off. Like,
you're right.
You just gave them a very simple plan. Yeah, you gave them a very simple plan on what to do.
When I say you should be hands off, I mean, you don't necessarily have to be posting the blogs. If that's beyond your capabilities, like editing a website, stuff like that, that's okay. But you can deliver content to your web guy really cheap, and then just say, I need you to post these 10 blogs, and he'll post them for you,
Or go ahead and have him show you how to get into your blog section so you can write a blog, because most of your computer guys aren't going to be as nice as you, Shawn. They're going to be like, fuck you, I'm not doing this shit. I'm going to charge you $200, right? Like, they're not going to do it for free. So
and you can
have them tell you how to do it, and then they can do it. But I'll take that wonderful tip. My tip today was also heavily on marketing. And I'm going to say people should do that if they choose that that's what they want to do. Okay, and right, that makes it kind of like, well, yeah, sure. Well, it makes sense. Well, yeah. Let me illustrate my example of my tip, and then you'll find out what I mean. I was stopping by the other day, and I saw this part of concrete that we've all seen it, right? Little water stain and this drip that's been happening for a while, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's at a faucet, an outdoor faucet, or maybe next to a gutter somewhere where water just continues to fall and drip and drip and drip and drip. And I go,
Eventually.
interesting. Because right over here, just 6 inches away, 2 feet, whatever you want to say, is wide open air that gets hit by water in all various forms. Freezing water, hard water with a lot of minerals. You've got hard water, meaning it comes down at an extremely fast pace and hits really bad. You've got real light water that hits, nice, easy. You've got mist. You've got dew. You've got all these different ways that water hits the concrete. Did any of that do as much damage
That's the
as
drip.
the drip?
Yeah.
Drip.
No.
And every computer, every website, any guy like that, gal, whatever, I don't mean to say it that way, just, you know what I mean? Anybody that they'll always tell you, whatever you do, you need to stay
consistent.
That's why I was holding up that C, right?
Yeah.
Holding up that C, and I know you'd hit it. You got to stay consistent.
Yeah.
So if you choose, right? That's why I was saying that.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Most people think that I've got to have all these different ways. So we get this question too, and it was actually in our group, a hyperClean specialist group. Hey, I'm running into some problems with marketing. What do I do? And then they list out, hey, I've paid these people, $3,000. Hey, I've done the videos. Hey, I've done that. And then they explain all the different things that they've been doing, which is stuff that you would do, stuff that I would do, stuff that we have both said, hey, this is what you should be doing, right? And I would go, yeah, man, absolutely. That's all the stuff that you should be doing. I go, but it's not working. Okay. I'm sure it's working at least a little because you're still here, right? You still at least got customers. You've got some type. Yeah, you got some type of, which we talked about, right? You got some type of funnel happening.
For sure.
Where, what, why? And it goes back to that drip idea, right? I started thinking about that and I go, okay, so there's a couple of water drops that land, but whether that's from a faucet, a gutter, or whatever, they're going to be spread out into some different places, right? It's not going to hit the exact same spot. But eventually what you need to do in order to really dive deep into the vein, in a sense, of customers, the vein of the money, the vein of how you're going to continue to go, is you've got to get very specific on what it is that you're going to stay constant on. Because then if I can land in the exact same spot over and over, right? I'm going to create depth. I'm going to dive in deeper. That's a lot of stuff that we've been doing. Nick's such a great, as the engineer side of the way he thinks and the way mine thinks, the way we pair together. He's that focus guy, right? So he's the guy that gets us into hitting that spot that we need to hit much better than all this other right? So there's changes inside of our episodes that we've done. There's a big change coming to the community pub that's going to happen. There's been changes the way we handle our marketing. There's change, right? We do all the stuff, but eventually you do need to think about a drip. Yeah. And what is it that you enjoy? So we've got to get back more heavy in YouTube, which we are, but I started in YouTube and then I sold my, whatever that website and business that I had, I sold it out and never started another YouTube channel with website, right? It was just, I've said it to you. I've said it publicly. It was 2010, 11, right? Wow. What a big blunder. Right. So, but when podcasting came around, I go, I've missed here. I've missed some other ways. We're still doing a lot of this stuff. So Instagram, I went hard in Instagram, but podcasting, I go, okay, I enjoy podcasting and I can do that over and over and over. And then we can continue to go deeper. Then we can refine out and we can purify what we're doing. And our podcast, well, the ones that you and I do, we see a ton of results, right? Ton of people going, giving feedback, saying, thank you for all the tips. It's more value than anybody else out there in the industry. next to the Pints of Polishing podcast, of course.
Yeah.
I'll always say that was going to happen. But, so because we've been able to refine the way we do it, it transcends over. And that's why, Shawn, you and I get to talk about, okay, well, let's do this. Let's talk about it. And we really hone in on what we do best. And how can we do this for years and years and years and years? And eventually those drips get down far enough. And then there's 100%. A giant vein, right? So staying constant and doing what you really enjoy. It's okay if you miss some stuff, and it's okay if you do all these other things. You should, but then you really do need to find that thing that you really love. Maybe it's writing, maybe it's talking, maybe it's video, maybe it's photos, whatever it is that you really like to do.
Hammer it, and in that specific direction, be consistent,
and then refine it, right?
Yeah,
you gotta refine
that process
gotta be better. It's gotta be better.
Yeah, that wins out more than being everywhere, in my opinion, because you're spreading the efforts too thin. It's like if you were to take your fist and punch something versus if you separate all your fingers, throw them at something, it's going to be less effective. I think that you really do. Yeah, you need to narrow down. Like us at our shop, for example, we have had a lot of success with referral partners. So other businesses we work with that refer us business, so on and so forth. That's been great, but nowhere near as successful as the charities that we work with. The charities, pound for pound, they're the heavy hitters. They're the ones that send us the most people. I don't know if it's just their demographics or the way they present us as a, contributor to their, cause, things like that. But we have found that has been, if you gave me, hey, Shawn, here's $50,000, put it into some marketing and we got to turn this company around. No problem. I would start with charities based on my experience, because we have found that for every dollar we put into, some sort of promotion with them or campaign or whatever, we're able to extract $20 to $50 for every dollar, versus the referral partners we work with that take the same amount of energy, same amount of outreach, same amount of this and that. And so what we found is that we have to be consistent. So we're consistent with the charities we work with. We're consistent with how often we do campaigns. I literally reach out to some of them and say, hey, you guys haven't done a raffle or something for your charity in 3 months. You should do another one. Oh, that's a great idea. I get their ball rolling because I know how effective it is. And I know that when they do it, that consistency, they see our name again. Like we have one coming up. I mentioned we're doing the fun run. We just got a bunch of those bottles printed. I should have grabbed one. They're upstairs. But they're beautiful, beautiful bottles. And we did it on purpose. They're metal so that the kids hang on to it. The kids are going to ask, mom and dad, hey, can you refill my my Auto World bottle? I don't know where it is right now. You know what I mean? I didn't do plastic ones they're going to just throw away. I did something they keep and hold on to. But those consistent efforts, that's how we get that depth. And then the customers always think of us. So find whatever your drip is going to be. If I can piggyback off your tip, I'm not introducing a new tip. That was, but basically you got to start thinking that way and become a hammer, because then once you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. There we go. See, I snuck in a third mini tip. There we go. But yeah, I think that's definitely the way to go. Absolutely. And I can see that change both within OrbisX, within Auto World, within even my printing shop. As I mentioned to you before the thing, we're doing some work with one of the embassies. We found that embassies are great. They rarely, give a shit about the budget. They're just like, yeah, just get it done. For them, it's more timelines and quality work. And so we found an in with them and we hammer them up. I don't wait for them to place an order. We message them and say, hey, do you have any birthdays coming up for any of the, embassy staff or whatever? Do you have any events coming up, stuff like that? And we're consistent with it. And as long as we're consistent, we follow up with people, that we get the results. But I don't need to be on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and all over the place with the same marketing budget, because if I spread it too thin, I'm not going to have, there's no dents now in that concrete. So, yeah. Awesome, man. Well, one last thing I have to mention before we sign off here, because I received from one of our OrbisX members, Austin, thank you very much, sent me a nice letter here, thanking me for all the help and support with OrbisX, helping him get set up. And he made me an official sheriff. There we go. See? Boom. So, yeah, thank you, Austin, for that. Appreciate you. Honestly, that was awesome. My wife put in the frame there last night, and as Marty said, I got to go around the house and say, "You're under arrest, baby." So I used that last night. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Needed some relaxation time, anyways. But good stuff. So anyway, Austin, thank you very much. Appreciate you. Marty, great talk as always. Of course, we'll have more for you next week. Maybe some other animal stuff. Who knows? Might dive into. I shouldn't mix those two. Talking about the stuff with my wife and animal stuff. Jesus, and earlier in the episode, another guy picked me up. So I don't know what this episode title is going to be, but there you go. Just the tips. And stop it, Marty. For those of you listening, you should see Marty's face right now. But there also is some big news coming. Can't say too much about it, but there's a community related thing coming. Hey, community that will be within OrbisX. You'll be able to, you know what? I won't say too much. There's something pretty awesome coming. You'll find out very soon.
We like community.
Yeah, that's it, man. All right, appreciate you said it again. Jesus. My glass is almost done. Good. All right, Marty, appreciate you, brother. I'll see you next week. All right, cheers, guys.
Cheers. Ciao.